I'm honored and very excited to be here with you today. Actually, I wish I could see your faces and your reactions, but nevertheless, I'm very excited to be sharing with you the importance of building your own personal brand. And hopefully, I will be able to give you a map, a roadmap of how to design your own personal brand. Now, the truth is that we all have a personal brand, whether we are aware of it or not, whether we cultivate it or not. The problem is that most people confuse the tools with the strategy. So when we talk about personal branding, most people tend to think that it's all about social media presence or online presence. No, these are just the tools, and that kind of people tend to confuse tools with strategy. Personal branding is all about who you are and who you want to become. Personal branding is the crossroads of reality and perception. And personal branding is everything that you do or do not do. It's the way you talk, the way you stand, your posture. Did you know that if you push your shoulders back and raise your body posture, you tend to see the world in a more positive way. Your biochemistry changes. So if you're facing a difficulty, raise yourself like this, stand up, and things will seem much, much more positive than they actually are. So personal branding is hidden in all the details, the way we talk, the way we dress, the way we walk, the way we communicate with the world. Even our voice is a very important element of personal branding, and the tone of voice, the way we're using our voice. Let me give you a fun example. Let's see if you can find out to whom this voice belongs to. I'm sure it's an easy one for you.
We came together to reclaim that basic bargain that built the largest middle class and the most prosperous nation on earth. We came together because we believed that in America, your success shouldn't be determined by the circumstances of your birth.
Oh, come on, that was easy. I'm sure you all found out that that was the voice of the President Barack Obama, right? No? I'm sure you did. And I'm sure you nodded your heads. Did you notice how he stressed the word America, the passion he put in his voice? It's not just the color of his voice, it's the words he's using to convey his message and where he's choosing to speak softer or louder. One more example for you. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this lady, but it's a very interesting example. Let's listen to this voice.
I've been so busy that I haven't had really much time to think about it. After all, I know I'm still only me, and so do my family. But I'm very much aware of the responsibilities and a little bit apprehensive. Who wouldn't be when you think of the names that I follow?
Difficult one. I'm sure you couldn't have guessed. Let's give it another try now.
Let me answer that very deeply, because I feel very strongly about it. The greatest divisions this nation has ever seen were the conflicts of trade unions towards the end of a Labour government.
Well, to those of you who are familiar with Margaret Thatcher, the British Prime Minister in the period 1979-1990, you weren't able to recognize her during the first voice clip. The first voice clip was Margaret Thatcher before taking any voice coaching lessons. The second voice clip was Margaret Thatcher after her voice coaching lessons. So you see what Mrs. Thatcher realized was that in order to stand out in the noisy and loud British Parliament, she needed to identify and discover her own authentic voice. And she needed to realize which words to use and where to speak louder, where to speak softer and clearer in order to stand out from the crowd. Now, the next one, it's an easy one for you. I wish I could play that one in your language, but unfortunately, I don't speak your language, so I had to do it in English. Let's see if you find out who this is.
Now, a teacher has got the fantastic opportunity to grow minds, to enrich the minds, and give the dreams to the young people and nurture the dreams with them, and they will become a great human being. Sometime they will become better than you, but better than the teacher. So that opportunity you have.
Mritunjay, I can see you nodding your head and smiling, so I'm sure you discovered that this voice belongs to the Honorable Abdul Kalam. Did you guys notice how he uses his voice and puts a lot of passion and sensitivity in his word and humbleness in order to convey his message? And the careful selection of words in order to convey that message. Words are very important. Words not only create meaning, but they create emotions. So when you're communicating with the world, words are the most powerful tool that you've got. Aristotle, he used to talk about rhetoric, and he broke down rhetoric in 3 elements. He talked about ethos, logos, and passion. Ethos is about acting with integrity, walking the talk. Whatever it is you're talking about, whatever message you're trying to convey, you should be fully knowledgeable about it, and you should have facts that will back up what you're saying. Logos is the words you're using in order to convey that message. And pathos is the passion you bring in whatever it is that you're doing. So I started by saying that we all have a personal brand, but we don't know what it is. So how do we go about building that personal brand of ours? Well, it all starts with you. It all starts with self-awareness. You first need to identify your strengths and your weaknesses. You need to find your strengths and put them forward to the world. And you need to identify your weaknesses and try to, fix some of the problems you've got. Self-awareness is always at the center of the equation. No matter how strong your branding strategy is, without self-awareness, your whole structure will eventually collapse. And most people tend to struggle with the self-awareness exercise because they tend to confuse self-limiting beliefs with facts. So for example, if you keep saying to yourself that you're not strong enough, then that sounds to me that most likely it's a self-limiting belief rather than a fact. So remember we said that words have power? If you keep telling yourself that you're not strong enough, then eventually you will believe that and you will not feel strong enough. Likewise, if you are thinking that you are the most successful professional in your area of work, but you have no experience, no work experience, no expertise, then it seems to me that you are on the arrogance side and you live in your own little bubble. So you can see why people struggle with the self-awareness exercise. When you do that self-awareness exercise, the first thing you need to do is ask for help. Ask your teachers, your friends, your colleagues, anyone you can think of. Ask them how they perceive you. Personal branding is about how others perceive you. So if you ask your community, your society around you, how they perceive you, I'm sure you will be getting a lot of valuable information to think of. Now, while you're doing this exercise about the self-awareness and while you start to design your personal brand, you need to be focused. Focused on the important things. For example, during World War II, the Allies, they used to map with these red dots that you see on this graph, the planes that returned from a battle. With these red dots, they marked the areas that were mostly hit by Nazi fire. So these were the most affected areas of the plane. So they used to do this in order to reinforce the plane in these particular areas to make it stronger for the next battles. Now, this may seem logical to you and a very clever approach to strengthen your plane. But a mathematician called Abraham Wald had a very different perspective on this issue. What he said was that these were the planes that actually made it back home, not the planes that crashed. So maybe they should have been focusing on the other areas, not the ones with the red dots, because those were the areas that were not enabling the plane to come back home safely. This is a phenomenon called survival deviation. It's when we usually focus on things that survived rather than things that didn't survive. So what I'm trying to tell you here is focus on your strengths and your weaknesses, but be very strategically oriented and focused on what's important for your personal brand and your vision and what is not. So once you know who you want to be, and you know what are your strengths and your weaknesses, it's time to decide where do you want to go? Who do you aspire of becoming? What is the better version of yourself? Personal branding is all about building a better version of yourself. So where do you want to be in 5, 10, 20 years from now? How do you feel being that person? What are the challenges you are going to face being that person? And what sacrifices do you need to make along the way? And what sacrifices you'll need to be making once you reach that destination? Now, when building your vision, you need to treat your vision as it is a greater purpose. And by greater purpose, what we mean is what is the impact you want to make in this world? How are you going to be servicing others? Your vision will not be grand or wonderful unless you make an impact in this world. So start treating your vision and where you're heading with that concept in mind. Once you develop the vision and you know where you're heading and who you aspire to become, then all the tools and opportunities will become much, much more clearer to you. And you'll be able to eventually reach that destination. Also, it doesn't matter how many times you'll be changing the destination along the way, because we grow, we develop, we evolve, and things change around us. That's absolutely fine, as long as you know who you want to be and where you want to go every single time. Now, along the way, do not be afraid to fail. People who are not failing are most likely not trying. And at the end of the day, what are we most afraid of when we talk about failures? Are we afraid of failing a particular situation? I don't think so. Mostly it's our ego being hurt. We are mostly afraid of how others are going to perceive us after we failed in a specific situation. I don't think that's a good enough reason for you to stop trying new things and accepting failures. Failures are a great learning experience. As human beings, we tend to learn more during a failure process than a success process. And companies are even trying to encourage their employees to fail. And all this sounds very good, but if you keep failing again and again on a particular thing you're doing, then you're not learning and you keep on repeating the same mistakes. So you need to be very honest with yourself about what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve. Also, although I hate war analogies and examples, I'm going to give you this one. You need to measure your risks wisely. You need to select your battles. You can't win in every single battle in order to win a war. So you are going to fail, but make sure you decide where you will fail. And under no circumstances, don't accept to fail because you didn't prepare. You can fail because you tried something new. You can fail because you took a risk, but make sure that you have prepared as much as possible. before failing. Now, in personal branding, it's all about expressing yourself and sharing your ideas with the world. You have an obligation to share your ideas with the world, no matter what these ideas are. It's the way we are progressing as human beings and as our society. Don't worry if you're different or if your ideas are different. This is what makes it interesting. If we all had the same ideas and we all agreed on the same things, the world would be a very boring place to live in. And we would certainly have no innovation. So don't worry to stand out. In fact, we want you to stand out and express your ideas. Now, at the beginning, you will feel a bit clumsy, but that's okay because practice makes perfect. So start expressing your ideas by writing articles, posting things on the social media, making videos, whatever gives you inspiration in order to express how you feel about the world. And you can get inspired from all over the world places. You can get inspired from nature, you can get inspired from friends, from what you're reading, from your university. Be inspired, be open-minded, look what's around you, be up to date with what is happening in the world, and express yourself in any way possible. And this will also help you find your unique, authentic voice. And with practice, your art will be perfected. Now, above all, no matter what you do, remember to be kind. Be kind to others and respect others. And don't forget to be kind to yourself. We tend to forget that. We tend to punish ourselves for every little failure we've had or for the things that we wanted to do and didn't have the time to accomplish them. Stop punishing yourself and start celebrating your successes. We are so good at punishing ourselves for what we didn't achieve, but we never celebrate what we have achieved. And this is an important part of the branding journey. Now, being kind is a very important chapter in whatever you do in your life. And if you don't trust me by saying that you need to be kind and you need to have a big heart and a strong character, well, let's look at this guy back in the 1960s. I think he's going to change your mind about kindness if you don't trust me.
The lesson I want you to learn is it doesn't matter what you look like. You can be tall or short, or fat or thin, or ugly, or handsome, like your father. You can be black or yellow or white. It doesn't matter. What does matter is the size of your heart and the strength of your character.
Well, that was back in the 1960s, and it came from a monster, so he must know something that we don't. Know your habits and your behavior. It's the little things that define who we are. It's the little things that make up your personal brand and the person you aspire to be. So are you a good listener, or do you tend to interrupt others when they're talking? Do you offer help to your friends when they need you most? Are you very well organized and know when to set and how to set priorities, or do you leave things for the last minute? Are you honest to someone when they're asking you for feedback? Well, you know what? There's no right or wrong answer. It's who you are, and it doesn't really matter. But it does matter when you're building your better self, who you want to become. It's the little details like this that define you and create perceptions about you. So it is important when you build your personal brand and draw that ideal version of yourself to notice these little things. Your behaviors, your actions, your habits must be aligned to who you want to become. Now, I'm sure you all have something that no one else has. We've all got something that no one else does. The difficult part is to identify what your unique selling proposition is. The difficult part is to identify what is the value you are going to bring into this world. And I know it's very hard when you're a student at university to identify your vision or to find your unique selling proposition, but the sooner you start, the better. Now, in this process of identifying your unique value proposition and the value you will bring to the world, it is very important to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, how on earth anyone else is going to believe in you? So you first need to start by making an impact and influencing yourself and not the others. That's the first step. So if you want to succeed in interviews, get that promotion you wanted, have more exciting work and job and project opportunities, show the world what you are capable of and why they should choose you instead of someone else. No matter what you do, it is very important in every little thing that you're doing to be present. There is a reason when we talk about influence and impact and all these nice little things, we use the term presence. It's what the word is trying to say. Be present. To truly engage with other human beings and have meaningful conversations and connections, we need to be present 100%. Now, there was this interesting survey conducted by a company called Bain & Company. They surveyed 2,000 employees in order to find out the main leadership traits. So they identified the main 33 leadership traits. Can you guess what was the number one most important leadership trait? Well, it was the ability to be mindfully present. So in order to be present, you need a great skill set. You need to be an active listener. You need to act with compassion. You need patience and self-reflection and so many things. Start with a simple way. When you have a meeting or when you are over coffee with friends, switch off your mobile phone. I know it's hard, but switch off your mobile phone and focus on the conversation you're having. Listen to the other people. Listen to how they're talking, the words they're using, how their body language is changing while they're describing you, whatever it is they're describing, how their emotions and tone of voice is shifting. Pay attention to all the little details and do not interrupt. Once they finish, make sure you ask meaningful questions. Questions will help you understand better their position and will also help you position yourself as a good listener and someone who actually cares to what the other person is saying. So that's the first step in practicing your executive presence by active listening and caring for others. I wish we had the time to go into more detail on this wonderful word of presence. Unfortunately, we don't, so I'll go back to personal branding as a whole, and I'll give you 2 tools that will help you further enhance your personal brand. So the first one is optimizing your online presence, which I know most of you were eagerly waiting to hear all about. I receive the most common questions come from clients and community. It's all about the social media and the internet and how to make most use of it. Well, once you know who you want to become, how it's the ideal version of yourself, who you aspire to be, and where you're heading, your vision, your purpose, then and only then you can start building your online presence. And you'll ask me, do I need a website? Well, it depends. If you are an author, a coach, a freelancer, you probably need a website because you need to showcase to the world your expertise and what you're doing. If you're going into medicine or, the corporate world, you probably don't need a personal website. But why not have a blog where you can write and express your ideas and showcase your expertise to the world? There was another survey back in 2018, not a long time ago, by Career Builder. And what they found is that 70% of employees, employers, excuse me, they use social media for screening purposes during the hiring process. 70% of employers and 43% of employers use social media to check upon current employees. Companies are now actually trying to, they're fostering the use of social media and personal branding because they see the value it brings back to their organization. So, for example, as an employee, if you take part as a speaker at conferences, or if you write interviews and articles that promote your forward thinking, you're not only growing yourself, but you're also bringing exposure to the organization that you're working for. So you can see the benefit. Now, the most important social media tool for your career building is LinkedIn. It's a wonderful community of like-minded, most of the times, individuals that they share and express their ideas, and in most cases are willing to help one another. So don't be afraid to use LinkedIn and communicate with other people and engage with other people and ask for their help. But be careful. You can't only ask. You also have to give. In order for your LinkedIn strategy to be successful, there is one rule. Sharing is caring. And the more you share and the more you care, not only you will be growing, but you will help others grow along you. So since LinkedIn is such an important tool for you, no matter whether you are at university, start building your career, or later on in your career, make sure you do the basics right. Make sure you've got a clear professional picture and a straightforward title underneath. Do not use inspirational quotes for your title. Tell me who you are and what you're doing. Make sure you've got a complete biography. Your interests, your voluntary work, your background, your work experience, your academic experience, everything. This is your chance to showcase to the world who you are. So take good care of it and make good use of it. And this leads us to networking. This is very, very important. Well, I come from Greece, and we have a saying in Greece. It says, show me your friend and I will tell you who you are. Make sure that you are surrounded by people who you respect and they respect you. Make sure you are surrounded by people that uplift you and they make you a better person. Professionally, start growing your connections today. Even if you are at university, start growing your network. Now, most people go to conferences as participants because they think that they will be able to, expand their network. How many of you feel at ease approaching a complete stranger and starting a meaningful conversation? I don't. It's very hard for me to do that. So how about instead you go and offer your help voluntarily to event organizers to help them design and implement an event? Not only you will be getting some unique expertise, but you will also be growing a very strong professional network based on collaboration. Networking is not about how many connections you've got on Facebook, LinkedIn, or whatever, with people that you've never met before, have never worked with before. Networking should be based on deep foundations. You need to exchange ideas. You need to exchange help with each other. This is what makes a strong network, and you can start doing that today. There are also other many ways to build your network, right? You can act like Angela and Mritunjay. You can have a more active role in your university. You can play a more active role in your local community or in the wider global community. You can play an active role in institutions, associations, anything that you can think of. Offer yourself to the world. Offer your expertise, your experiences, your help. Now, your personal brand will evolve just as you are evolving. You will find yourself inventing and reinventing yourself along the way, and this is absolutely fine. My aspirations, my dreams were completely different 10 years ago than they are today. I had different opportunities 10 years ago. My expertise has grown since then. The environment around me has changed. The technology has changed. So I'm evolving. But at the same time, we need to make sure that our strategy is evolving along the way. No matter how many times you change your destination, it is the foundation that remains the same. And if you act with integrity and honesty, you will always have the right foundations and you will always find your way to the right destination. Do not be afraid of change. Change is the only constant. And as human beings, we have this remarkable ability not only to cope with change, but to initiate change in many cases. As pioneers, great innovators, trying to find better ways of doing things. Do not be afraid of change. Use change to your benefit. Now, at the end of the day, your personal brand is not what you say it is. You design your personal brand, but at the end of the day, it's how others perceive you. So if others are not describing you in the exact way that you'd like to be described, then you're probably doing something wrong, and you should focus a little bit more on your personal brand and the things that you need to correct. So for example, if you think that you're great in accounting, but your grades in accounting are very low, you're doing something wrong. You should be walking the talk. So if you think that if you aspire of becoming a best-selling author, great, but nobody is going to consider you a best-selling author until you actually publish a best-selling book. So personal branding is all about walking the talk. And this applies to your values as well. Now, after this exciting discussion we have, well, it wasn't exactly a discussion, but anyway, one-way discussion, I think that more or less, most of you know what you should be doing to start building your brand, and you realize the importance of having a personal brand. Now, what differentiates the best from the rest? Actually, just two things. The best are persistent and consistent. No matter how many times they fall, they always rise back up again stronger than before. Do you know how many articles you have to write before you actually get published in a respected media? Maybe hundreds. It's all about persistence and consistency. You can't achieve any success, any personal branding, wonderful strategy, unless you actually try. And it takes a lot of time. It doesn't happen overnight. There is no magic wand to make you successful in whatever it is you're doing. You have to commit yourself to your vision, and you have to be persistent and consistent in order to succeed. And you know what? You are completely accountable for your success. Your success lies in your own hands, no one else's. It's entirely up to you whether you will fail or you will succeed. So you are the one who should be doing things. You are the one who should be making decisions, not choices. We are surrounded by choices, but we should be taking decisions. We should know about every little thing we're choosing to do. We are deciding. We know the pros and the cons, and then we take a decision. Your success lies in your hands, and I know you can make it work. So my wish to you is to start living your brand. Be the person you want to be. I know you can all do it, and I wish you every success in that journey.